For today's segment, we have Andi Simon, corporate anthropologist, author, president and CEO of Simon Associates Management Consultants. Today's topic is why a book on corporate anthropology? Thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure. You know, we wrote this book because I'm a corporate anthropologist, and our company, Simon Associates, does a lot of work with companies that need or want to change. One of the things that we find is that people aren't hiring us as anthropologists. They've got a business problem, and that's where we begin to apply it. But as we were working with these clients, what we realized was that the application of the theory, method, and tools of anthropology to business settings was actually very valuable. It was really opening up their eyes to see, feel, and think in new ways. And out of it came aha moments that were quite remarkable. But unless people understand why ethnographic research, observational research, and anthropological tools could help their business, it was very limiting. And so one of the things we wanted to do in the book was share, we have 7 stories here of companies very much like those all across America and Canada, who all of a sudden realized that they stopped growing, they had a new product that wasn't selling, they couldn't recruit the kind of talent they were looking for, the generational changes were really challenging them, or there were other problems that had stopped their growth. Often we had companies 3 years of no growth, lost 3 RFPs, and all of a sudden they were having a panic attack.
Are there some concrete examples on how corporate anthropology works?
One of my favorite stories is that of Hurley Medical Center. I worked with Hurley for almost 4 years, and they brought us in because I knew the CEO, and he had done a remarkable turnaround of a safety net hospital in Flint, Michigan. So this was a hospital that cared for the poor and the sick. They had wonderful programs, but had stopped growing. The question was, what was it that we could do to help him see, feel, and think differently about this institution and the community that it served? So one of the things that we did was we started to hang out. We do our observational research in very benign ways. We sat in the lobby, we watched people come and go, we listened to them tell their stories, we sat around the cafeteria, listened to employees. We went out and we watched people from the ambulances and doctor offices, talked to pediatricians, and began to talk to others who could use the hospital but maybe weren't. And one of the things that we began to discover was a common theme. We look for common themes, not niches, but big ideas that are coming out. And many times people said, I'm so glad that hospital's there. If my child has a bicycle accident, or I have a motorcycle accident, or there's a car accident, anything from the region, that's the place I want to go. It was a trauma center, and it was well known for the expertise it had. It also was a children's place, but didn't have a children's hospital yet. And what we found was that if my child was sick, that's where I wanted to come. So when I asked people, would you go there yourselves? Oh no, that's not where I go. So it becomes an interesting challenge. How do I reposition this wonderful hospital people thought so well of and counted on, but weren't necessarily thinking was for them? Now we know from culture that this is about belonging. People share a common language, behaviors, values, and beliefs. They like to belong to places. Birds of a feather flock together. They like to go where others like them go. So now we had a challenge. How are we going to turn this wonderful hospital into a place they belonged?
And in doing so, what were some of the recommendations you were able to make that they could put into effect?
Well, the interesting part is that if we had metrics or data, and we'll talk about big data in the book as well, we would have had a lot of factoids. But what did it really mean? And if you really had asked people what they thought of the hospital, they might have told you about how important it was, but they wouldn't have given you the gap between what they thought of it and why it wasn't for them. And so what we're looking for is that meaning. The most interesting part is how do I share that information with leadership so they see it also. I often take my clients out exploring with me. If they observe it, oh my goodness, it changes how they see things completely. If I tell them about it, they start to believe it. But this is about understanding the nuances, not necessarily the facts. And so for Hurley, it became real important that they began to see themselves with new eyes and have a better way to appreciate their value among those who they could be serving. Once they had the aha moments, then it became a matter of communicating the stories. Now this is about people need to share stories about why this is for them. And so one of the things that we did, we completely revamped their online experience, which is a fabulous way of building community. And there's a person there at Hurley that does a fabulous job at this. We began to remarket them and position them as a place where they belong. And it was also very interesting to watch internally a branding taking place where people began to believe this is where they belong. It was no longer a job, it became a passion and a mission. But sometimes you have to see it with fresh eyes.
So it seems this book will be very helpful across industries, understanding their cultures and how to grow.
It was written just for that purpose.
Any closing thoughts?
I always like to end with Henry Ford's quote, because if you ask people how to make something better, as he said, if I had asked people how to make transportation better, they would have told me to make the horses go faster. The only problem is I'm a horse person, they don't go any faster. They couldn't imagine the Ford or cars or what automobiles would do to change ourselves and our community.
Thank you for sharing your insights with us. And be sure to capture the rest of our series on how corporate anthropology can help your business.